Hey my lovelies, so today I'm going to be doing a very belated January books that I read. I read 5 books in January, which for me is like a really good month. I haven't actually read that many books in, I can't even remember when, so I'm kind of really hoping that this would be a really good start to the year and we'll be able to keep going from there and just absolutely smash out my reading goal for the year, which is 30 books. So it's not too many. I guess for some people it's a lot, for some people it's not much. I had the goal as 30 last year and I got to, I think, 28 or 29 and I just missed it. So I had to keep the 30 goal because I didn't reach it last year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll reach it this year and then I can add a couple more. But yeah, hopefully we can get to the 30 book goal and that will be amazing. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So for the first book that I read in January 2022 was Sally Rooney, Beautiful World, Where Are You? Now I've read Conversations with Friends, but I haven't read Normal People, and I've seen the TV show Normal People, but I didn't really personally enjoy Conversations with Friends that much. I think I am one of the people who just does not get Sally Rooney's writing. Just feels dry and a bit boring to me, and it just, yeah, I really do struggle to kind of really get into the books. I think maybe if I were to read Normal People, that might be a little bit better. I hear that sort of Normal People is a lot of people's favorite ones, and it's the one I haven't read, which doesn't really make any sense. But after reading Conversations with Friends, I was like, oh, another Sally Rooney. I thought, let's give it a go. Beautiful World, Where Are You? Maybe this will be the one that makes me fall in love with Sally Rooney like everyone else has fallen in love with Sally Rooney. But unfortunately it didn't. It definitely didn't. I just don't think Sally Rooney's for me. I just don't think her writing is something that I enjoy. I'll read the blurb just in case anyone doesn't really know what the book's about. So Alice, a novelist, meets Felix, who works in a warehouse, and asks him if he'd like to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Eileen is getting over a breakup and slips back into flirting with Simon, a man she has known since childhood. Alex, Felix, Eileen and Simon are still young, but life is catching up with them. They desire each other, they delude each other, they worry about sex and friendship and the world they live in. Are they standing in the last lighted room before the darkness bearing witness to something? Will they find a way to believe in a beautiful world? It's just kind of about these 4 people. So for me, it just, I don't know, it just didn't really go anywhere. I guess it had this weird format where it kind of had the storyline, and then you would have emails to and from Alice that they would, Alice and Eileen, that they would send each other. I get what she was trying to do with the emails, with this sort of intellectual sort of crisis of age and crisis of the world and all these things and stuff like that. But I don't know, half the time I just felt like I was glazing over it, or maybe it was a little bit too advanced for me because my brain was like, I don't even know what you're talking about sometimes. Like, it was just kind of intense. And then it just went back to this kind of normal novel structure and writing. And it was like, all right, okay, we're back in the story. Don't have too much to say about it. I did not like Felix as a character. I just thought he was a bit of a dick, to be honest. He was so mean to her all the time. And like, I guess that was like how their relationship worked in the end, but I just didn't like it very much. There weren't too many lovable characters in this, and I don't always need to have a lovable character, but it just wasn't for me. I'm sorry for all of those Sally Rooney stans out there, but I'm not on that train with you, unfortunately. So the second book I read of the month was when I actually had COVID and was isolating with my boyfriend and was pretty bored, didn't really have much to do. So I read Love Stories by Trent Dalton. Now this novel is basically an accumulation of short stories that Trent Dalton collected over, I think it was about 2 or 3 months, where he was in the city of Brisbane and he had this blue Olivetti typewriter that he got from his best friend's mother who had passed away, and she had gifted that to him after her passing. So he took this typewriter, set up in Brisbane City, and just collected people's love stories. I think it was just the perfect, heartwarming ray of sunshine that I think I needed, and I think a lot of people needed, especially after all the COVID time. I literally had COVID when I read it, and even in the novel, it says a lot about needing these slices of sunshine when we're in times like COVID and things like that. And I think that's what that really brings in this novel and rings true. The blurb is also a perfect quote, which I believe is a quote from him, and it says, "I believe in hailstorms, rainbows, forked lightning splitting the night sky, sleight of hand magic tricks, fever dreams, gravestone poems, cheap beer, expensive Shiraz, bird songs, wishful thinking, and Neapolitan ice cream for the young. I believe in welfare, taxes, death, fate, chance, destiny, happenstance, dumb luck, talking, smelling, seeing, touching, hearing, listening, belonging, holding on, letting go and letting rip. I believe white silk slips look good on anyone, and I believe in love." And it is just that. It is small stories of love, big stories of love, everyone's depictions of love, how one person shows their love in one way and another person shows their love in a completely different way, or ways of showing love that you wouldn't think is love. But it is just beautiful, beautiful writing. I smashed through it. As you can see, I tabbed it so much. I just think even if you grab it and you like read one story and then put it away for a bit and then read another story, it's just got so many sort of enlightening stories that if you're in a little bit of a rut or in a little bit of a hole or the world's in a pandemic, this just shows you all the little things that are in the world and are amazing and we should be so grateful for and cherish. And to be a little bit more on surface level, look how beautiful the cover is. It's stunning. It's so beautiful. Just a beautiful looking book and a beautiful book on the inside as well. So for the third book of the month, I read The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which is a book that I've been really wanting to read. I've seen it all over BookTube, I've seen it all over Bookstagram. Everyone always says, you really need to read this, it's such a great book. And so I was like, well, better pick it up then. So picked it up and started reading, and I think for me it was a little bit of a slow start. Like I liked the introduction and how we sort of met him and we learned about the world and the magical aspects of it, and it was a good start. But I understand why he had to set it up like that. But at the same time, I was kind of like, I want to meet the magical creatures and I want all that stuff. So I don't know. I think I was just a little bit impatient because I love anything magical and cool like that. So that was probably just me. But in the end, it really was just a lovely story about a man in a rut working a job that he's been working forever, doing the same thing every day, day in and day out, and something changes. He is forced into this situation where he needs to go to this orphanage of extremely special magical youths and do a case study on them to see if their orphanage will stay open. He finds something so magical and so beautiful, and the kids find someone that they can trust and someone that they can put their faith into and who will be there for them always. I think it is just about not letting yourself, resign to the monotony of life that can kind of happen sometimes. And I think it's just that little message to go on that trip or do that adventure or quit that job or do something you always wished you could have done. Just do it kind of thing. I think that's a big part of this story. I really also enjoyed TJ Klune had these little sort of, had some really cute sort of funny moments, and then he had these bits where if you had remembered from a previous chapter what had happened or one word that a character would have said, it kind of reintroduced itself in another part and you were like, oh, that was actually a really cool, funny little bit that you put in there that I don't think everyone would have noticed. So I really like TJ Klune's writing, and I think he did have those little bits where he just sprinkled a little bit of him in there on his writing style and a little bit extra something, which was really nice, which would have taken maybe him a little bit longer to write because of that, but was very much worth it. And I'll read the blurb for you as well. So Linus Baker leads a quiet life. At 40, he has a tiny house with a devious cat and his beloved records for company. And at the department in charge of magical youth, he's spent many dull years monitoring their orphanages. Then one day, Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a highly classified assignment. He must travel to an orphanage where 6 dangerous children reside, including the Antichrist. There, Linus must somehow determine if they could bring on the end of days, but their guardian, charming and enigmatic Arthur Parnassus, will do anything to protect his wards. As Arthur and Linus grow ever closer, Linus must choose between duty and his dreams. I also think as well it's actually quite a good book for younger children or teenagers as well, because it does have that sort of air of a lot of life lessons thrown throughout, and there are a lot of moments where there's a lot of really important life lessons that he sprinkles throughout the whole book, and I think that is really great as well. So I've also been making my way through Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. This is the 4th book in the series. There's only one more, so there's 5 in this series, and I loved the movies when they came out. I think they're actually doing a TV series really soon, which is really exciting because I just love the characters. Rick Riordan has this way of making this sort of magical world where all the characters are so unique, and he sprinkles in the mythology so that it's not confusing, but you understand the stories and you grasp everything so easily, and it's really nice. And he also he doesn't, I think as I've mentioned before, he doesn't age the characters more than they need to be aged, I think, which is really good. You know they're young, and I think that's really important sometimes. I think sometimes in movies and books and things like that, they make characters maybe more really traumatized or go through things that obviously some kids go through these things, and that's something that needs to be talked about and something that needs to be mentioned. But at the same time, I think it's nice to just see a kid being a kid or read about a kid being a kid. And obviously Percy Jackson and a lot of the characters go through some really crazy stuff and traumatic stuff and things like that. But yeah, it's just nice to see those moments where you're like, yeah, they're like 12, or I actually don't even really know what age they are, but yeah, they're young, they're kids. And I really like that about them. They're so easy to read. They flow so well. They just just go through it, and every chapter, something exciting and new happens. You don't have a chapter that's boring. One thing I can say about Rick Riordan's books, you do not have a chapter that's boring. There's always something interesting that happens, and there's always some little cliffhanger or something that will just keep you hanging in, and you'll be like, yep, got to get to the next one because he's just drawn me in. So can't recommend these enough. I'm really excited to keep reading Rick Riordan's books, but I'm really liking sort of sprinkling them in between other books that I'm reading, so because I know I'll enjoy it and I want to get through it, but at the same time I'm kind of like, I'll read like 2 of these and then a Percy Jackson, and then I'll read 2 of these and then another Percy Jackson. So yeah, really recommend these, and I'll read the blurb for this one as well. Just skip past this part if you haven't read the first 3, because I think there's probably going to be some spoilers from the first 3 in this blurb, but just pre-warning just in case. Percy Jackson isn't expecting freshman orientation to be any fun, but when a mysterious mortal acquaintance appears on campus, followed by demon cheerleaders, things move quickly from bad to worse. In this 4th installment of the blockbuster series, time is running out as war between the Olympians and the evil Titan Lord Kronos draws near. Even the safe haven of Camp Half-Blood grows more vulnerable by the minute as Kronos' army prepares to invade its once impenetrable borders. To stop the invasion, Percy and his demigod friends must set out on a quest through the Labyrinth, a sprawling underground world with stunning surprises at every turn. So good! So, I recommend this so much. If you really want a sort of fantasy mythology series, definitely a great one. So for the last book, I have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. This book caught me by surprise. I had heard about it through a podcast called Shameless Podcast, which I think I've talked about on here before. I obviously love it, and they give such good recommendations. And I really wanted to give it a go. It sounded really good, but it wasn't what I was expecting at all. Like, I knew kind of what it was about, but I just loved this novel. It was so good. I started reading and then I literally just couldn't put it down. And then it has a twist at the end that I wasn't expecting as well, which was amazing. I'll read the blurb for you just in case you don't know anything about it. When Amira is apprehended at a supermarket for kidnapping, the white child she's actually babysitting, her employer Alex resolves to make things right, so begins a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves, each other, and the messy dynamics of privilege. As mentioned, this novel is vastly about the relationship between Amira and her employer Alex, because Alex employs Amira to be her babysitter for her child. As mentioned, it starts off with this massive moment where she's accused of stealing a child, basically, because she's at a supermarket with a white child and she is a person of color, and a patron of the supermarket decides that they think that she's stealing the child, and it sort of escalates from there. And it really is, it's just this constant chain of Alex sort of constantly manipulating her own life and manipulating Amira's life just so that she can feel good about herself and make herself not feel racist or prejudiced or a whole bunch of other things, which throughout the novel you realize that she is, but she's deluded herself to think she isn't. Everything in the novel that comes down to racism and prejudice and things like that, it happens so naturally in the book that you read it and you're like, God, it's so obvious that this happens all the time. And there's so many instances where racism, prejudice, and all of those things can happen, and you just I might not even notice. And of course, I had to, obviously, there was moments in this novel where I was checking myself and checking my own privilege and all of those things, because I was just reading and thinking, God, have I done that? Or things like that. And just such a great novel, and it had such good pacing. The writing was amazing. I fell in love with literally all of the characters. It got to the end of the novel and it kind of just ended. And I was like, what? I want to know more. I want to know more about what happened to Amira. I want to know more about her life. I want to know more about everyone else's lives. Like, it was just such a great book. So interesting and informative and funny as well, and contemporary, and just, there's a reason that it was, 2021 Australian Book Industry Awards winner, International Book of the Year. No wonder. Such a great book. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention the ratings that I gave them all. So I believe that Love Stories and Such a Fun Age, I gave a 5 stars, because yes, please go read them. They're amazing. I gave Beautiful Girl Where Are You by Sally Rooney, I think maybe a 2 or a 2.5 or something like that. It, as mentioned, it was not my favorite. Then The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, I rated, I'm pretty sure it was about a 3.5 or a 4. It was a good book for me, but it just wasn't 5-star worthy. And The Battle of the Labyrinth, Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan, I rated, I think it was about a 3.5, or on my app you can do like 3.75 or something like that, which by no means is a bad rating. I really, it has to be an amazing book for me to rate it a 5. So if it's a 4 or a 3.5, it's still a great book. It just means it didn't have that oomph or that extra thing that was like, yeah, this is a 5. So all pretty much really good books. It was just the Sally Rooney one. Sally Rooney just mustn't be for me, unfortunately. And that's okay. You know, I can't be on the trend or be standing with everyone all the time. So that's all good. So that's all from me today. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I would love if you could let me know if you'd rated any of these books, what you rated these books. Let me know if you're a Sally Rooney stan, or if you're like me and you just don't really get the hype. That would be amazing. Please like and please subscribe. That would be great. Put your notifications bell on. So goodbye for now, but not forever, my beautiful bookworms. Until the next video. See ya.